Yeah, that was great to have them update with doomandbloom.net as their website. Go check it out. They're great to have on your show. And we had an excellent update with them about how to be prepared. They have a new active shooter kit that's out. We're also picking up reports after the San Bernardino terror attacks, as well as the recent Paris massacres, have led to a surge in gun purchases, and crediting multiple lawmakers and Sheriff Joe Arpaio, many others, who have recently come forward urging responsible gun owners to carry. So we're following that story as well. So, we ready for our Raspberry Award?
We are.
All right. Well, this has been we really have to give her the Raspberry Award for the 21st century. So this is from StandUpAmericaUS.org, their newsletter. It's really good. Is the Hillary indictment imminent? So former Congressman Tom DeLay says the FBI is ready to recommend an indictment. Appearing on Newsmax TV, DeLay said, "I have friends in the FBI and they tell me they are ready to indict Hillary Clinton." He added, and they also say if the Attorney General does not indict, they're going public. Under conditions of anonymity, senior FBI officials are saying that the White House and Department of Justice Attorney General are interfering with the FBI criminal investigation.
What a surprise. We work with our heroes, men and women agents of the FBI for decades, and there's a lot of them populating that agency. Undoubtedly the finest, most thorough investigative agency in the wide world. Once they start, they're going to find it out. They're clearly being interfered with now. Some of Hillary the Hun's emails, classified of course, went to Obama. So it'll be interesting to find out, but we won't, what's in those. It's coming out more and more now that beyond top secret, they're called compartmentalized information, above and beyond top secret. She was disseminating wherever the hell she felt like sending it. There are 4 levels of compartmentalized. The highest is called SAP. It's a special access program. This is mind-boggling to anybody in our audience that's had a security clearance. You just can't get your head around the magnitude of this backpack.
Yeah, one of our, we call him Sideband, one of our mutual friends, I'll never forget one time, his comment was, when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she was actually the second most powerful intelligence agents in our community, in our national security. So that's outstanding. It's just unbelievable that she would do something like that, just give away. We're also hearing reports that some of the emails that she made public actually had agents' names on them, so now they could possibly, them and their families could be in the crosshairs. These are real people fighting to keep us safe. Can you believe that, Yoda?
Yeah. Secretary Gates was recently in Latin America, and he promised a day after she opened that private server, the Chinese, Russian, Iranian, probably Israel, maybe others were intercepting that. Speaking of our main man, Sideband, he was a senior intercept officer for CIA. He's allowed to disclose that, or I certainly wouldn't be doing it. Anyway, he and I ran into each other around the world, including Beirut. He now is Chief Executive Officer of Impact Analytics, based in Florida, Backpack.
Yeah, please go to impactanalytics.com. It's impactanalytics.com. It's a great website. You'll have an opportunity to create a newsletter consortium, and Sideband is the person who creates the magnifiedview.com newsletter that goes out to 180,000 people. So if you and your friends are looking to create a really large newsletter, contact Tim Kalin at impactanalytics.com.
He does a bunch of other stuff also. What's his new website?
A great new website. I'm actually looking at it now. It's called punchingbagpost.com. It's a really good one called punchingbagpost.com. It's called The Post, a conservative perspective on the news, and it does a great job of audience index, and it talks about the latest breaking stories. Actually, we have to say we did go to talkers.com, which is one of the most well-known Talkers magazines, and I have to say that his articles supersede that. They're actually much better website to see what's really going on in the world. So I highly recommend punchingbagpost.com.
Downrange here today. Later in the program, we're going to talk extensively about our audience's sex life. Say what, Yoda? Yeah. Downline, we're going to talk about our fine audience's sex life, which is about to change. I'm doing that as a flyer loss leader to keep your attention for about 15 more minutes till we get into a virus that's now active in the United States, but it's going to change your sex life.
Yeah, we also have another breaking story that's really huge. China is sparking a global depression, and we look at a possibility of 1 billion refugees. China is set to plunge the world into an economic crisis, sending stock markets crashing by 75%, according to analyst Albert Edwards, French bank. Sinking Chinese currency cripples British industry as it can't compete with China's cheap exports. The World Economic Forum, WEF, believes that crashing of commodity prices and impending depression could see hundreds of millions, possibly even 1 billion refugees attempting to enter Europe and the United States from the Middle East and Africa. So, boy, we can't get rid of Obama fast enough.
Oh, speaking of our singular exclusive finance guy, the Todd Bubba Horowitz is our main man. He is a power broker on and off Wall Street. He rang the bell at the market opening or closing or something. Straight talking guy, Todd Bubba Horowitz. You don't get all that jargon about fuses and breaker points and all that financial stuff. Good guy to listen to. In addition, the MagnifiedView.com, millions viewer magazine of ours, has formed the Magnified View University think tank. We've taken select friends and guests that we have back,
including Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn. He was former head of DIA with 17,000 employees. It's Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA. And we've had Major General Paul E. Vallely on StandUpAmericaUS.org many, many times. And we've had Claire Lopez, who we'll be talking to tomorrow. Great to catch up with Claire. She is 22 years, former CIA, and Vice President of Center for Security Policy.org. Great intel. We're going to catch up what are predictions in the next 20 years of where this caliphate's going from. We've seen here in San Bernardino, Paris, and what are some of the predictions for the future?
Here's how the think tank is going to work. It's made up of seasoned senior members only. They have advanced degrees, most of them. They're multilingual. They've been around and done that. They come from diverse specialties. They come from intel, legal, special operations, medical, finance specialties. We're going to solicit questions, from the audience. We will question the think tank. They will answer us in 400 or 500 words. Our team will put that together in a compendium and will provide the answer to key select questions that the audience wants to know. So again, audience is going to provide us with questions that impact them here in good old America. We're going to question these incredible specialists. They will each answer from their perspective. We're going to publish the answer in the Magnified View University think tank on the MagnifiedView.com, back.
Yeah, that's great. Go check out MagnifiedView.com, our million circulated magazine on the internet. I got to do a pet peeve that's really been bothering me. Is that latest studies show that 63% of Americans can't afford a $500 bill of any sort. That's a $500 bill will swamp the budget for over 60% of Americans. Meanwhile, Obama is bringing in U.S. Muslim refugees left and right, and when they get here, they get free housing, they get EBT food stamps, they get free cell phones, they get medical treatment, they get education and walk-around money. So meanwhile, 63% of Americans can't afford a $500 bill of any kind. What are your thoughts about that, Yoda?
Well, he's bringing them in as fast as he can. Everybody's talking about limiting import of these savage heathens, but nothing's really being done about it. The vetting of Syrians is truly a joke. Here's how it really happens. Name a country for me, Backpack.
Somalia.
Okay. You picked a good one. Every day at the U.S. Embassy, I don't know that we still have one in Mogadishu anyway, there is a line from here to Argyle in New Hampshire around the damn embassy. These are people applying for visas of one kind or another to come to the States. They meet with a junior diplomat, a new guy or gal called a visa something, under-attaché something, who meets with them with a couple minutes to decide whether or not they get a visa. We have no capability, nor is there one, in Somalia or elsewhere to do any kind of background. We don't have the language, we don't have background investigators, so the whole thing is really a joke. It's a sham. Countries like France, a sophisticated country, they go to the U.S. Embassy 5 days a week, there's a line around the block. French nationals really don't need a visa to come here, but other ones from other countries apply for visas. A junior diplomat asks them about 5 questions, and they get a visa or they don't get a visa. In addition, just came out, we have 500,000. I hate numbers, I fear getting them wrong, but we supposedly have 500,000 people here that have overstayed visas. Think about it. So they get a visa, student visa, something. And they just, when it's time to go home, of course, don't go home. Backpack.
We talk about that more with Ryan Morrow. We just had a great conversation with him. He is with the Clarion Project. He's the National Security Advisor for Clarion Project. He's been on numerous media, TV, and radio shows, including Voices of Global Freedom and MagnifyView.com. To reiterate what Yoda was just saying about vetting, it's a physical investigative impossibility to vet these people. Impossible to do background checks because they have no paperwork. Many are from desert and mountain tribal areas. It's ludicrous to imagine you could sort out terrorists from the good guys. The FBI and other major letter agencies estimate a minimum of 10% terrorist jihadist Muslims. Could be a lot higher, of course. 10% of the estimated 100,000 in St. Paul would be 1,000 spot on.
Well, it would. San Diego is sitting at the largest U.S. port of entry in Tijuana out of 300 odd. And many Tijuanans get a day pass to come here. Well, the day pass, here they come, turn out to be forever. They bring souvenirs with them. A lot of disease, weapons, drugs, illegals, gangs like that. But I can't even imagine how often they overstay their day pass.
We're also seeing reports, estimates between 500 and 1,000 of these refugees or whatever you want to call them, invaders in America have left to join ISIS in Syria. These aren't the all-American high school quarterback next door. These are Muslim terrorists that practice Sharia law and are dedicated to a global caliphate. So they go over to these nasty countries like Syria and they get desensitized to cutting heads off and doing all that nasty stuff, and then unfortunately they can actually end up back here in the United States.
Point well made, Backpack. In fact, they're catching a lot of them now on the way to Syria, but as somebody said, it's popular to say now, We counter-terrorists, Joint Terrorist Task Force, has to be right 100% of the time. The bad guys, San Bernardino, Paris, wherever, have to be right once, and truth in it. So timing now is the FBI, Joint Terrorist Task Force, is waiting for the ones that went over, a lot from St. Paul.
Well, the FBI
coming back, bro.
The FBI has been really busy. One thing we found with Ryan Morrow is we're talking about this is that every 4 days there's a Islamic terror attack that's thwarted. So just like Yoda said, it's just a matter of time before we see more San Bernardinos. We did get a Europol update that Europol has done an announcement. It's similar to the Interpol in Europe. And they announced that they are expecting many more of those Paris-style attacks where it's going to be multiple soft targets. We saw the Bataclan Theater and the Paris attacks just back last year where 89 people were killed at this really tight theater event. It was a rock show going on where there wasn't a lot of movement where you could move around, and seemed like they definitely dropped the ball on security with that.
Each and every one of our think tanks is saying that active shooters and explosions are coming here. Lieutenant General Flynn, retired Defense Intelligence Agency, an incredible guy, a third bigger than the CIA, is personally concerned about a chemical attack in the United States. That means a chemical attack on a medium or large city could readily kill about 10,000 or more. The purpose of all this fine audience and lovely chat room is to quit thinking about it like we all do and get prepared a little bit. You need shelter, you need some food and water, and I won't get into a prepper thing. Hell, it's obvious for our quality audience. One tip, having said that, is these folks that go 100 miles away up into the woods somewhere and they create some kind of hideout, here's what's wrong with that. You're leaving all the stuff you've really prepared in your home. If you can, stay in your home. Here's why, from experience around the world. The minute a major event happens, all of the roads gridlock. You ain't going to get there. Hell, you're lucky to get 10-mile home in a blizzard. Mind you, in a major terrorist event, you're not going to get 100 miles to your little safe house. So prepare at home. In all cases, if you can, stay there. Don't be trying to drive somewhere, please. You're not going to get there. You can't get there in a police car. We've worked wildfires here with casualties, fatalities. Quite an experience, backpack the wildfires. Yeah. Anyway, half an hour after the black smoke turns the sky dark, even with siren and a blue light, you can't move the police car around because of the roadblocks. How the hell would you get 100 miles?
Yeah, one of our updates that we want to tell the audience, we were really frustrated when we watched the recent Paris attacks where they just said there was maybe 8 to 10 people, and we're estimating at least it takes 50 to 100 people to do a terror attack like what happened in Paris. So we have a breakdown of this where we can talk more about. There's actually 5 enemy cells that took place in Paris, and there was a lot more planning and type of work that was done. Through this example, people will understand there's tremendous amount of time, money, people, and planning involved in these Paris-style attacks.
We can wade into that in great detail with Claire Lopez, 22 years CIA, can't we?
Yeah, we'll talk more about this, but
I think our time's a bit short. We promised to tell people their sex life. What time have you got, Backpack?
Well, we have 25 minutes, so...
We promised to tell them about their sex life changing, didn't we?
Yeah, we do have this Zika virus transmitted by mosquitoes into humans. The virus causes a mild illness known as Zika fever. Since the 1950s, it has been known to occur within a narrow equatorial belt from Africa to Asia. In 2014, the virus spread eastward across the Pacific Ocean to French Polynesia, then to Easter Island. In 2015, to the United States, Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, and South America, where the Zika outbreak has reached pandemic levels.
It is deadly because pregnant women then give birth to neonatal to babies with tiny heads. This is almost out of some grim Asimov Heinlein science fiction story, isn't it?
Yeah, I can see how some people would say this is a conspiracy type thing because it will cause a population, any child born to a mother who has Zika virus, they won't live very long. They'll have tiny heads and very small brains. It's a really horrific type of virus.
What else have you got on this?
Well, Zika virus is related to the dengue yellow fever, Japanese encephalitis. The illness it causes is similar to a mild form of dengue fever, is treated by rest, and cannot yet be prevented by drugs or vaccines. There is a possible link between Zika fever in newborn babies, and it is mother-to-child transmissions, as well as a stronger one with neurologic conditions in infected adults.
How do you get it? How does the mother get it?
It is transmitted from mosquitoes. That's the primary way you get it. It can also be transmitted through sexual contact.
I think it was your old employer, CDC, and World Health Organization, names these horrible things out of the vector case, the zero case that was found. If I'm not mistaken, this one was found in the Congo. So it circulated around a real narrow belt around the equator. But now, these mosquitoes are catching rides on airplanes coming here from Latin America and Africa. They're catching rides on boats and ships that dock here. And it's currently in the United States. Where is it back there?
In January 2016, the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, my old outfit that I used to work for, issued travel guidance on affected countries, including the use of enhanced precautions and guidelines for pregnant women, including considering postponing travel. Travel agencies and airlines are refunding pregnant women so that they won't get this virus.
That's extraordinary. Have you heard of anything like that?
No, I haven't. Actually, that's the first time I've heard about this. So Zika virus transmitted by daytime active mosquitoes shows their incubation period in mosquitoes is about 10 days. The Zika virus can migrate between humans through sexual contact, and it can cross over into a mother's placenta, affecting the unborn fetus. A mother already infected with Zika virus near the time of delivery can pass on the virus to her newborn around the time of birth.
I heard World Health, the gal that heads up the World Health Organization, she's talking about dire and words like, and a pandemic, that means worldwide. She's talking about millions of mothers being affected. This is right out of a bad movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This Zika virus is expanding rapidly due to global trade and travel. Its distribution is now the most extensive ever recorded across all continents, including North America and even the European. A mosquito population capable of carrying the Zika virus has been found in a Capitol Hill neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Genetic evidence suggests they survived at least the last 4 winters in the region. The study authors conclude that mosquitoes are adapting for persistence in our northern cold climates.
Which they don't normally, like malaria, like dengue, often called breakbone. I was in Nigeria, in the capital Lagos, in a Sheraton, when your old outfit, the CDC heroes, poured in, and I sure mean that. What kind of scientist, often medical doctors, virologists, epidemiologists, what kind of guy and gal can't wait to go in the middle of some fetid jungle and deal with a disease where you bleed out internally that's 90% fatality? What the cow? These are the most heroic people I have ever met, and I've been around a lot of heroes. So back to Lagos, capital of Nigeria. I hooked up with one of your old CDC guys named Johnson, Dr. Johnson, and I hitchhiked a ride with him to Lassa, another hemorrhagic fever, like Ebola or like Marlboro. I have never been that freaked out, eerie, weird in my life, thinking I could get this. He broke the story on where it came from or how it existed. It's still unknown where Lassa fever actually originated. For a time they think bats and they think monkeys and they don't know, but I want to salute your old outfit. What did you do for them back then?
Well, I was involved with all their software systems, from financial to actually tracking viruses, also tracking how to. I was working on a project with our troops when they went to Iraq to make sure they were vaccinated against any kind of disaster. We worked overtime for that project, but I also worked on redesigning all the websites for the Centers for Disease Control, which is a great project.
Right.
So I really got to learn a lot. But I wanted to reiterate what Yoda just said. I was actually at a meeting with Julie Gerberding, who at the time she was the head of the CDC, and we were going over all the epidemiologists who had died being in the field in these nasty places like Africa, like the Congo, where the Zika virus originates. A lot of them died, and they really are our heroes because they really risk their lives all the time, all our brave epidemiologists. So we salute you, all the people out there doing that, risking your life.
And I'm here to tell you it's spooky, man. I'm an old gunslinger, of course. That's what I've done all my life, but you can't shoot a virus, you know. A quick Yoda anecdote. I was operating in New Guinea, world's third largest island. The thing looks like a bird sitting on top of Australia. And I became ill, but made my way to Hong Kong. That's a hell of a ways. The north-south distances in the world are lengthy. We usually think of east-west distances because that's the trade routes today. So there I am in the Peninsula Hotel, Hong Kong, the famous one with the porch. I went down like an anchor with a fever. There were minimal medical facilities, and a friend of mine brought in a doctor for the German embassy. He said, better get me evacuated. There was a U.S. carrier, big ship with a flat roof, in the harbor. I got on that. They evacuated me. I don't remember this. I think to Guam, then ultimately to Walter Reed in D.C., where I spent 21 days semi-conscious, couldn't even lust after the nurses. I learned then that the CDC was working on this exotic virus I had. So I was released, didn't do anything for it, IVs, D5W, hydrated, no real treatment. Went out, I'd been looking out the window at a golf course. I went out, picked up a golf club and fell down. I was that weak. So I thought, hell, I jumped on an airplane, went to your old town, Atlanta, called on the CDC, where I made some really great friends down there, and I've kept them to this day, Backpack. We've got some wonderful, heroic friends at CDC.
Yeah, we certainly do. We have some also reports of looking out for observation of filming and illegal trespassing around our power plants, nuclear facilities, and water facilities.
Don't leave me. Stick with the virus for a minute, would you?
Okay.
What you got? What else you got? I'm interested in that power thing, really am, but time being what it is. What do you got on this evil virus?
As of 2016, no vaccine or preventable drug is available. So we're looking at least a year before any kind of vaccine for this virus. Symptoms can be treated with rest, fluids, and while aspirin and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs should be used only when dengue has been ruled out to reduce the risk of bleeding.
It's called breakbone. Dengue? I've seen it in my travels. People are that spastic, if that's the right word. Some
Yeah.
of them in bed thrashing around have actually broken bones with it back then. So we're talking about no vaccine. The year's artificial. What the hell? They'll pharmaceuticals, researchers, universities, they're working on it. They'll get it as quick as they can. It's hard with a virus, as you know, and absolutely no treatment, right?
Yeah, right now there's no treatment, but they are working on it, but at least a year before they'll have a treatment for it. The CDC has issued a level 2 travel alert for people traveling to regions in certain countries where Zika virus transmission is ongoing. The Centers for Disease Control also suggests that women thinking about becoming pregnant should consult with their physician before traveling to any of these countries. But we are starting to see it in Washington, D.C., Houston, Texas, and Puerto Rico. So it's coming here at a very rapid pace because everybody travels so much.
Let me disagree with the physician or the travel agent. Here's why. Some trying to be savvy international travelers ask the travel agent what they should be inoculated against. What should they get a vaccine for? Many of them ask the family physician. Well, they don't have a clue. The travel agent, often the family physician, a good guy or gal, is clueless of what they should do. What you should do is look to what diseases exist and where you're going. Because the disease is there, they don't require you to be vaccinated, backpack. Example, yellow fever. Example, often a bunch of other diseases. So the travel agent's going to tell you, oh, you don't need yellow fever to go to Ghana in Western Africa. They don't require that. No, they don't, because it's already there. But you require it to protect yourself. So you need, in international travel, to find out what's there that you need to be protected against, not what they already have. They don't care if you're vaccinated or not. Worthwhile tip, backpack.
Yeah, we recently had a couple friends that are actually planning on going to South Africa, and we did an extensive write-up. It was, I want to say, about 5 pages, 5 to 10 pages long, where we went through everything from counterterrorism risks to riots to health. But as we've talked about with Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy recently, doomandbloom.net, the number one thing is health when you're traveling or anything. You need to be healthy.
Well said, backpack. That's really what happens to you overseas. That's really what happens after a natural or terrorist disaster. So that's what you got to be prepared for. What else you got on old Zeta?
We also have the other breaking news is right now they're seeing at least 4,000 deformed babies in Brazil since October. So this is just, unfortunately, these babies aren't going to live long. They've got deformed brains, tiny brains, and this illness is just horrific.
I heard World Health the other day, then I read it, the lady in charge of World Health, as I said, she's talking pandemic, which means worldwide, and she skirted around a little bit, but looks for it endemic or throughout the United States. They're telling gals, ladies, not to have a baby for 2 years. This is extraordinary, isn't it?
It is.
It's like a movie.
And if you're pregnant or you have friends and family that are pregnant, I would make sure and tell them not to travel. I think getting on an airplane can be a unnecessary risk to the baby.
Thought we've had, and we don't normally think this way, what's going to happen to birth control methods, pills, stocks? I'll bet. We're going to mention that to Bubba, our finance guy, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. That'll definitely go up. We also see United Airlines and American Airlines are offering refunds to pregnant travelers who have already purchased tickets to Zika-infected countries.
Absolutely extraordinary. We're going to stay on this and keep our fine audience informed. Good report there, Backpack. Well done.
Yeah, and as Yoda said, to reiterate, many of the countries have actually asked women planning to become pregnant to wait until 2018, when hopefully they have a vaccine for this nasty virus.
Yeah, and that's artificial. How do they know what's going to happen in exactly 2 years? What were you saying when I rudely interrupted?
We have some reports about surveillance. Middle Eastern men have been observed filming and illegal trespassing around our power plants, nuclear facilities, water facilities, dams, reservoirs, and throughout our country.
That's a big one. What are we going to do without the grid? Man.
Well, we're following. There was in San Jose. There was a shooting up of transformers. Yoda, what are some of the updates you have from 2013?
Well, 4 guys entered a substation. 2 were sniper, high-powered rifles. They knocked out a bunch of transformers, and down it went. The projections we were privy to is were there 9 teams on a Monday morning in the summer, spread throughout the United States, that the grid would go down. So that would be 36 guys, 2 to watch the 2 snipers back, shooting up 9 big substations. Somehow that would take the grid down. So utilities, I think you found it, are spending what to suddenly, substations aren't protected at all. Hell, transformers are often unmanned with a chain link fence around. What'd you find?
PG&E, which is a major one here in California that reacted to the substation shootout in 2013, has spent millions and millions for protection, for more security at their substations.
Then we've got somebody sitting in China. There have been probes recently, one in Springfield, Illinois, one was successful in Akron, Ohio, where some computer guy like you hits the enter key and pumps start running backwards in a water and waste plant in Springfield. Some other utility facility in Akron, Ohio. In addition, people talk about an EMP that would require a nuclear burst, an atomic burst at altitude over the country. I think a computer genius in China, Russia, particularly Iran, hitting an enter key to take down the grid or air traffic control or whatever you like is a lot more likely than the EMP caused by an atomic detonation over our homeland, Backpack.
Yeah, there's another breaking story out of Israel that the Israel's electrical grid was almost taken down just 4 days ago, and what authorities have said was the largest cyber attack the country has ever experienced. The Minister of Infrastructure, Energy and Water, Steinitz, told a conference in Tel Aviv yesterday, we identified one of the largest cyber attacks that we have experienced. So that's huge.
Yeah, that was done, as I say, with somebody hitting an enter key, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot. We're seeing a lot of things with Israel in the crosshairs. What we learned from Colonel Najjar is that Hezbollah is knocking at their door. They're approaching the Golan Heights, which is a key critical location in Israel for their defense.
With Iran Republican Guard backing them up.
Right. So
how much time we got?
Well, we got about 6 minutes left.
They shut us down like a light switch.
They do.
For our new audience, what's the name of your book?
It's Looking Glass Shattered, Cubicle Commando to Constitutional Conservative Leader.
What are readers, you're selling well, I'm proud of you with that authorship. What are people taking away from your book?
This is my 4-year odyssey across America where I got to see the real America, whether from the downtrodden homeless to CEOs, interviewing and learning how to be a broadcast journalist and reporter, and how I met up with Yoda and the adventures that we've had together with numerous high echelon guests that we've had here on Voices of Global Freedom.
Secret to our stunning success, having doubled program time with the Wednesday program. For new audience, and thank you for being there, Backpack is an advanced computer expert with a degree and all. He earned a hell of a living working for, as you heard earlier, Center for Disease Control, Northrop Grumman, Fortune 500 companies, Cox, AT&T. Was sitting in his cubicle one day, hitting on the keyboard, and it occurred he was looking up at a poster. It was somebody climbing a mountain. Well, they all have that in these cubicles, have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Anyway, he had the guts to walk out of there, sold some stuff, gave most of his stuff away, kept essentials in a backpack, and off he went. He crisscrossed the continent for 4 years. As he said, he walked with kings, but he didn't lose the common touch. Actually, I think Kipling said that, but Backpack did it. He met homeless, he met senior corporate executives, crisscrossing the continent, and went to Europe and elsewhere. Proud of him, he operated against a South Sudanese. That's kind of a country in Northeast Africa. Bunch of savages. Anyway, he penetrated that gang. He hooked up with Magnified View and certain government agencies and worked that undercover at great risk to himself. As if that wasn't enough, he lived in Section 8 project housings with the savages. As if that wasn't enough, then he went to the West Coast and operated undercover against Black Panthers. All right. Then, what, were you writing the book along the way?
Yeah, I've been constantly working on this book. It's really the second revision of the book, but it's adventure means risk and uncertain outcomes, and my journal called Looking Glass Shattered reveals some close calls I encountered on my journey, including dodging reckless traffic in Manhattan, avoiding toxic water in the wilderness, and my street-savvy skills helped me dodge dangerous, conniving bad guys like the South Sudanese tribals, and really learned how much we really need to take a hard look at enforcing immigration and the refugee crisis we're having here in the United States by living it firsthand, by living with the refugees.
You
taught me a lot. Wow.
With Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy on Wednesday's program, you told a good story about a black widow bite in the Grand Canyon. Want to cover that?
Yeah, I picked up I was hiking in the Havasupai Indian Reservation, which I really highly recommend, in the middle of the Grand Canyon. Beautiful place to go, but I had a infected black widow bite, and I went to see the nurse at the clinic, and she refused to see me. She's only allowed to see people who are Native American because it's part of the tribal community there. It's not even considered part of the United States, but it's such a bizarre story is that I had a really bad wound, and this nurse was not following the Hippocratic Oath. She wasn't allowed to treat my wound.
Well, Dr. Bones said hers is the hypocritical oath. Yeah. How did you fix that? What happened?
Well, it kept getting worse and worse. Unfortunately, infections just can get out of control really fast, as we've seen. So I went to a clinic, and they had to cut the whole wound out, and I didn't have any insurance. So I actually it was about $400 to pay out of pocket, but it was either that or lose my leg. So I would gladly have them cut away at me, and so I can keep my leg intact.
Name of the book?
Looking Glass Shattered, Cubicle Commando to Constitutional Conservative Leader, and you can find it on Amazon Kindle.
Audience, and particularly our lovely chat room, thanks for being with us, and don't miss next Wednesday's show, 4 o'clock Pacific. Who's coming on? Morrow, isn't it?
We've got Ryan Morrow coming up on Wednesday. We'll also have Claire Lopez on next Saturday, so we've got a great lineup.
All right, fine.
60 seconds.
Fine chat room and lovely audience. Thanks for being with us. It's all about you. We're non-monetized. We don't have any sponsors, and we don't look for donations. It's a labor of patriotic love to be with you, and without the audience, we ain't nothing. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us. Lady Michelle, Mary, Annie, the Radio Chick, Southern Sense Talk Radio. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.